Welcome to episode 50.
49. One more.
Dude,
next episode, you can finally stop saying, dude, we've been in the 40s for like 10 episodes.
And you know for a fact we've been in the 40s for like...
This is the 10th episode in the 40s. You hear that? That's my stomach. It's growling.
It is, you're right.
Yeah.
Wow.
We could talk about our lives and we could talk about things, but there's also a little bit going on in the sports world with the college football playoffs. Should we just jump straight into that head first?
Or do you jump right?
Do we want to jump in and start arguing or give ourselves a little bit of leeway to get on the same page? What do you want?
I want to jump in and start arguing.
You texted me immediately afterwards.
Yes.
That you had strong opinions and that it's going to come out in the podcast. So here you go. Here's the platform. I'm going to shut up for at least a minute and let you go.
I don't even know if I have a minute because like the audacity of the college football playoff committee and the audacity of, I was going to bring that up, of the NCAA, right? To leave a undefeated Florida State out solely, you can argue whatever you want, but if Jordan Travis is there, they're in. Like, there's no shot. Solely because their quarterback got injured, who yet wasn't even a Heisman candidate. He wasn't in the top 4.
Yeah, but are you arguing that Florida State was the same with or without him? Did you watch the 2 games without him, though? You know
I did, which they won both of them. Well, their defense, though.
Florida's terrible, and they almost lost to Florida. Louisville's not that good.
But Texas A&M is also not that good. Or not Texas A&M. Why am I blanking on the name? The Alabama just almost lost to. Texas Tech? Who did Alabama just almost? Auburn, sorry. I always forget.
Yeah, but then they came back and beat Georgia.
They did. But Florida State also beat 4 teams inside the top 25 this year.
Okay, their best win of the season.
Florida State.
Best win of the season was LSU. Agree or disagree?
I mean, from a standpoint, yes.
Yeah, because you're saying they beat those. That's the 5th best SEC team this year. So their best win, which was a good win, and they looked great with Jordan Travis. Listen to this. Without them, you take away 2 plays of the game. They had 55 passing yards against Louisville. 55 passing yards, and then they ended up with, let's see, 100 and I don't want to shortchange them at all. So I'm going to look this up, make sure I get the exact number that we're dealing with. They had 164 rushing yards. 2 plays, one was 73 and one was 21 yards. So if you take those 2 plays away,
you can't just take plays away.
I know, I'm just saying, but I'm saying like the rest of the game minus 2 big plays. That's 55 passing yards and 70 rushing yards against Louisville. You can, like, in your right mind, can you say that Florida State has an actual shot of beating Michigan?
No, they're not.
Yeah, and it's what they keep saying, which I get from Florida State. It sucks if you're a Power 5 team and you go undefeated and you don't get to go to the playoffs. That
correct.
Sucks. But the reality is there are 4 teams, and so someone's getting left out, right? You know what I mean?
Always.
So typically. It's like, it sucks if you did like an emergency play-in game and you add maybe Georgia and Florida State and them and Alabama and Texas play in and go play Washington and Michigan.
Yeah.
I get that. But from my side, because this is what I predicted during the ACC championship, because I'm like, Florida State looks terrible. I don't think it matters in this game whether they win or lose because Alabama had beaten Georgia. So Georgia, you got the 2-time national champ that hadn't lost in like 700 days.
27 games, right? 28?
Yeah. Alabama goes in and beats them. So can you really say, and Alabama's loss was early in the season to Texas, who's also in the playoff picture. So can you really say that Alabama doesn't deserve to go in? Then you've got Texas, who just won the Big 12, and they had a head-to-head win against Alabama. So now you've got 2 teams, and how are you going to really choose between those? Are you going to leave? I understand people are upset about SEC bias, whatever, but the reason it's biased is because they just keep winning. They're better than every other conference. So you're going to really leave them out.
Yeah, but the problem also is they both have a loss. And yes, it was good teams, 100%. Yeah. But they also have a loss, which like typically in most college football playoffs, right? If you have a loss, like it doesn't matter if you lose to Tim Tebow's Florida Gators, like,
right.
You know, you're not going to make the college football playoff. And so that's the part that like, I understand why they left Florida State out, right? Like I understand that, but based on like the principle of the game and of the NCAA championship and of the playoff committee, like you should never leave a team Like, because here's the thing. Yes, they didn't look as good, but they still beat the 14th ranked team in the country. Yes, they didn't look great. They didn't look phenomenal. And yes, they're hurting without Jordan Travis, no doubt, who ran the offense for 80% of the season. But it's like they still beat a 14th ranked team in the country. Like,
I understand Louisville's ranked 14th. They looked so bad. Louisville looked terrible.
But that's also
and
because Florida State has a phenomenal defense.
No, yeah, so Florida State had a good defense. Louisville looks bad. They beat Duke. That's not really a good win. And it's like one of the best ones they have. Like, they just aren't good. Like, the rest of the conference isn't that good. Yeah, so here's what sucks for Florida State. They go out of their way to schedule LSU, which is good because they're trying to build up their strength of schedule. Then they have a great win against LSU. And so it's like that's where I get it. It's like from their side, it sucks. Like, they've done everything they can. Jordan Travis got hurt. You can't really control that. You know what I mean? Like, it sucks from them. But then my thing is, if it gets down to one team. So interesting thought. I think if there was another undefeated team, Florida State probably gets in and it's 4 undefeated. But I think because you're down to one slot left and you're between Alabama and Texas, you start looking at it. Again, you've got Alabama that they also beat LSU by pretty much the exact same margin as Florida State.
Texas,
like, it was almost
Alabama,
the same score.
yeah.
Then you got Texas going head to head. So you can't say that head to head in the regular season doesn't matter because that's a bad path for them to take. So are then you going to say that Alabama also beating LSU and beating Georgia, which is probably the best team, are you going to say that Texas goes over them? And so I think once you start pinning those two together, you realize it's a lose-lose. And that's when I think Florida State comes back in the conversation. It's like, well, honestly, it's a lose-lose if we're going Texas or Alabama. Florida State becomes the easier option. Whereas if I think say Texas never played Alabama and they're undefeated, I think then it just goes Florida State goes in. You've got 4 undefeated conference champions. You know what I mean? Where like...
Yeah, once again, the college football commit, like, it's a very tough decision because, I mean, you never really know, but Florida State playing Michigan, like, probably not going to be
so bad. Because I get what you're saying, but they look so bad.
Yeah, but it's probably not, like you said, I mean, Michigan might win by 3 scores. Like, it might not even be a fun playoff game, right? Like in the semis.
And again, this is where we talked about with TCU. That's where... unfairly, Florida State's getting hurt again because of the TCU game. Even though they won a playoff game last year,
true. Yeah.
They got so annihilated by Georgia.
And there is some SEC bias, I think, for sure. But here's the thing. Georgia's schedule was a little bit tougher. Not much, but a little bit tougher than like FSU's, right?
Right.
It wasn't head over heels tougher.
Georgia had one of the easiest SEC schedules all year.
But Georgia wins that game. They're 13-0. And guess what? They're the number 1 overall seed. The number 1 overall seed in that tournament.
Yeah, but you're acting like losing Jordan Travis. They just were not the same team with him and without him.
That's also true, but
if Penix is down, Washington's not in. I would stand by that.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's
you know what I mean? Like if the flips happened 2 weeks ago, and granted I don't know, because Oregon's a good team, so that would be interesting because they were playing them. But all else the same.
I think, like, I'm sorry, but like for Alabama, for example, this is just such.
You're just mad because you don't think they're going to win for another 10 years, and you're like, oh wait, it could happen this year.
No, just pissed me off at Alabama because, like, the fact that you take Auburn, like, you have to throw a 34-yard pass with seconds to go, literally, to beat Auburn. Like, that's a very lucky win to beat Auburn, and you lose. Now, don't get me wrong, Texas is a good team. It wasn't a bad loss, but you also lose. And yes, you beat Georgia, which is great. But, like, you can also make the counter argument all day long that, like, they barely could compete with Auburn or barely beat Auburn, and then they lost to Texas. So, like, and who was Texas lost to?
Oklahoma, which was you remember we complained about it.
That's
because
right.
It was a bad loss because they played not to lose at the end.
Correct.
And shot themselves in the foot. So I mean, that was stupid.
You know, and Alabama and Texas's schedules are harder, yes, and they're in the SEC, or Alabama's in the SEC. So, like, yeah, of course, the schedule's going to be harder. It's just on principle to win. Like, the thing that sucks is, like, even if Jordan Travis doesn't go down, you have to think they're in, right? You just have to think Florida State's in the top 4.
Right.
Also, if Clemson's good this year and Florida State beats Clemson, I think they're also in the top 4.
No, that's where I'm with you. Is it sucks for Florida State? Again, they went out of their way to schedule LSU.
Yep.
They beat them.
Yep.
They went undefeated. They won a Power 5 conference. You can't ask for any more from them, which is where it sucks.
Right.
Like, I'm going to argue that this was the right decision, but that doesn't make it suck less. It's also, again, they have a 4-team playoff with 5 Power 5 conferences. Like, it's changing, but the system itself is just flawed.
But that's the first time that an undefeated Power 5 conference champion got left out.
Right.
Right. So I think that was the...
And then, again, people have been saying it all the time, but Ohio State, when 2016, I guess, 2014, whenever it was, when they lost their starting quarterback and they stepped in, they looked better than Florida State did without Jordan Travis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, again,
I'm glad they left George out, though.
Yeah, I am too. Yeah. George should have been out, even if, but this is where it's weird. It's like they still probably are one of the best 4 teams, but that's where it just gets so they're like stressing the best 4 more this year as a cop-out to try to explain.
Correct. They've never done this before, right? Like they've always went by like records, and if you're undefeated and you win a Power 5, like you're in, and like...
Which is why I stand by it, though. I think that if Texas hadn't lost to Oklahoma, I think at that point, you probably have Florida State in, and you just leave Alabama out.
Because they lost.
Because it was a loss, and then you know what I mean? It's a clear-cut decision. I think the problem
I hate Alabama.
I just think the problem was you have Alabama and Texas that both have a very compelling case. And then once you start trying to decide between the two of them, that's when FSU, I think, comes back into the conversation. Whereas if there was a clear-cut 4, even if Alabama gets left out and they're better than Florida State, it's like, look, we've got undefeated conference champions, and you're the only one that's not. It's easy. And they don't want as much messy.
It was awful. I mean, I would love to see the conversations in that room.
Yeah.
You know, like between the committee.
But they had 5 people from the ACC there, including the head in the committee, which is interesting too.
Yeah. Well.
But, I mean, you have a good point too. If Clemson was good this year.
Yeah, like Clemson's top 10 of the country, and
ACC
Florida
was
State
just
wins.
Weak again this year.
Dude, they were. I mean, really. I mean, Duke was arguably, besides Florida State, the best.
Because we thought
ACC
UNC
team
was going to look good. They fell apart.
They fell apart
terribly.
Dude, they were up to like what? Like 12th in the country or something? Like they were up high.
I know.
But then they lost a couple bad games. One to Minnesota. Not Minnesota. I forgot who they lost to, but it was a bad loss.
The one thing I do have to say is I'm tired of reading RG3's tweets.
Yeah.
Because after the Oregon-Washington game, he's like, I'm just going to say it. Both of them need to be in. It's like, if you lose to a team twice in the regular season,
you're out.
You do not deserve it at all.
Out. But that, dude, I actually wish that would have happened. I wish Oregon beats Washington. Can you imagine that? What do you, like, what? What do you do in that situation? Like, Michigan's the only one that's in. Like, lock.
I mean, I think at that point,
right? Like, if Oregon actually did beat
honestly, maybe
Washington, then you go, there's 3 teams that deserve to be in that have one loss. Florida State's probably still out.
Or are they?
That's what I'm saying.
That would have been an interesting one, I think. That
would have made it, like, I feel like this is by far the toughest it's been in a few years. Mm-hmm. Like, top 4. Dude, but if you had Oregon at 12-1 too, that would have made it, like, even just, like, a little bit tougher.
I honestly didn't think about that at all.
Yeah.
Because it happened first.
Because Washington won lock, Michigan won lock.
Yeah, and it was a Friday night.
Those two lock.
Good.
Yeah.
Also, okay, Ohio State was a big win, but the Big Ten's trash this year.
Dude, it is.
They were a 20-point favorite in the conference championship game.
Against Iowa.
I mean,
Iowa's worse than Louisville. I think Louisville would have beat Iowa.
If McCarthy goes down, then Florida State has a way better case than Michigan.
Yeah, I know. But like Michigan, like once again, that's what.
Because you could also argue with Ohio State that they were just like maybe it wasn't that big of a win. They were just overrated.
Like
because they didn't play anyone. You know what I mean?
Dude, that's what I'm saying. It's like you could take this so many different directions because then you go, if you start doing that, then you go, wait, all of a sudden, because I don't know what the official strength of schedule was for Michigan, but like then you go, wait, all of a sudden, Michigan's really big win was against Ohio State. And like then it's like, well, should should Florida State be like, I don't know, dude. It gets like, you can go down so many rabbit holes.
Well, also strength of schedule is so much harder to do when there's 100 teams than if, the NFL with 32.
Yes.
Because
I'm looking up right now.
Take the SEC right now. People are arguing that it's a down year for the SEC. But also, if you're just all playing each other constantly, you know what I mean? You have 3 hard games to prepare for. Florida State gets, again, LSU was the beginning of the year, but like say it was the middle of the year coming in. South Carolina's got to be up there.
Number 1.
Dude,
according to sportsbettingdime.com.
It was a brutal schedule this year.
Yep.
Honestly, we should have been in this conversation.
This is 5. This is 3.
At 5 and 5.
Alabama
7.
Crimson Tide, 3. Michigan was 10, this says.
Yeah.
Wow, Tar Heels, they were 13th.
But you know what I mean? Like, so much of that is based off, like if you're not playing each other that much, so much of it is based off of what they decided preseason.
I know, dude, it really is.
So final thought on this from me, and then I want to see if you have anything else, is it sucks for Florida State. I would be so upset if I was on their team. They did everything they could.
Well,
but
you know what?
They're just not as good right now, I think.
But here's the thing, dude. Here's the thing that this decision is like the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
It's like, here's the thing that this decision just brought into play. If you could be the best college football team in America that year, and your quarterback goes down in the conference finals, you're done, right? Like if it's a Heisman QB, like you're done. It's over. Like that's what this is saying. It's like you could be 13-0, win a Power 5, right? But if your quarterback goes down and he's a big piece of the offense, you're out.
And our draft today, we're going to do best college quarterbacks from the last 25 years. But we'll realize with it, it's like you get 1 or 2 good ones or like one come in, you can change an entire team.
Well, you can, but also you can also like make them miss the college football playoff.
Well, right. What I mean though is it's like you just get one good quarterback to come in and you can go and make a run. Whereas then if you lose them, it's such a big piece. It sucks,
but that's what that's saying.
What it should have been, it should have just been Georgia plays FSU and Alabama plays Texas as a play-in game to play Washington and Michigan.
100%.
Just doing, who doesn't want another week?
100%.
Just do an emergency 1-week edition.
And 100%. You can wherever you rank it. But yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
just freaking do it because like, that's what drives me insane. I think that's the part that bothers me the most. And the last thing I'll say is like the precedent that this set, because you could do everything right in the regular season and one of your key players goes down and then all of a sudden you're going to miss the college football playoff.
Well,
I mean, that's exactly what that's saying.
I think 2 things. One, since it's already changing, the playoffs, they were able to, I think, maybe stress more of who do we think the better team is, because we're like, if this was 3 or 4 years or before they decided to expand it, then it would be everything's breaking loose. Like all hell's breaking loose. You know what I mean?
That's true. That's a good point.
But I think because of that, they were able to stress a little bit more. But the other thing is, I know, I see what you're saying, but I do think that if, like, just the eye test alone, Florida State was drastically different. You could have a backup that steps in. I mean, even look at the Bengals this week, you know?
Maybe Joe Burrow's not the answer.
Maybe he's not. Like, Browning looked pretty good.
He did look good.
There was nothing from Florida State that looked like that. Like, Florida's not good this year. They almost dropped to them. Louisville was not that good, and they almost dropped. So I think it's not just the injury, it's the injury plus the way they responded offensively. Defense still looks good.
I don't know,
it sucks.
though.
It sucks.
Yeah. I don't know if Florida, yes, I'll agree with that comment. Like, you can't say you played bad against a top 25 team and like, I don't know, like a top 15 team. Like you're like a 14th team in the country. Like they still won. Yes, they didn't look as dynamic, but like, they're a top 15 team in the nation and they beat them. So like, I don't know. Anyway, it is what it is, right?
We're
not
what it is.
changing anything.
Unless they decide to add an extra game.
Dude, that's what they need to do.
I mean, no one would have been mad about that.
No, nobody. Dude, if you're Florida State, though, what does the head coach say? That's so tough.
I know. He was upset. But anyway, should we just jump into week 13?
Man. Let's jump in.
Your favorite team, Thursday night.
Dude, Cowboys almost blow it. I did call it. This is one I did 100% call.
Took off. It was looking like you were about to be wrong.
Yeah.
Cowboys started rolling. Then they tried to blow it. But,
well, I knew Seattle's too good of a team, I think, to get blown out 2 weeks straight. And that's why I had the same theory about the Eagles, but we'll talk about that later.
Interesting.
Yeah. But anyway, I thought it was actually, It's a lot better than the Panthers Bears on
I know.
Thursday night.
That was so bad. Yeah, it was a good game, honestly. It was fun to watch.
Great game.
Because the other thing, too, is the Seahawks had this game sandwiched between the two Niners games. And so that's why I like your idea of covering, which obviously worked out.
Yeah.
Dak Prescott, pretty good game again, almost 300 yards, 3 touchdowns.
He had a great
Geno
game.
Smith, 334, 3 touchdowns,
Yeah,
1 interception. DK Metcalf, 134 yards, 3 touchdowns, 6 receptions.
Beauty.
That's stud. And CeeDee Lamb,
CeeDee Lamb.
12
he had
catches.
Like 20 targets.
12 catches, though?
Yeah.
I don't have
That's
much
unbelievable.
to say on this game.
Yeah, that was a fun game to watch. I mean, that's like, I wish kind of more Thursday night game because I feel like Thursday night, dude, such a weird day to play.
Yeah.
You know, like there's been so many, I feel like in the last couple of years, there's been so many bad Thursday night games.
I do think that it helped that both of these teams played on Thanksgiving. So
That's what I'm
it was a
saying,
week
yeah.
game for both, or a week, not WEAKEEK.
That's what I'm saying. When you play Sunday and then you play Thursday and it's like a 4-day turnaround, it's just a weird game. I don't know if I love it. Like, I love the fact that I watch football on Thursdays. That's fun. But I just don't know if I love.
I feel the same way that I do, well, not quite, but similarly that I do about international games where it's fun. I like having a morning one, but I don't want really good games scheduled in.
No,
You know what I
like,
mean?
It's fine to have like 1 or 2 fantasy guys go. Like have like the, you know.
Right, but I don't want a
Get the Panthers
Chiefs-Eagles
over there.
matchup on
No.
Thursday night. You know what I mean? Yeah, Panthers-Bears. It was a perfect one. It was terrible. You watch a little bit, then you go to bed. It's so bad.
So bad, man.
Anyway, Cowboys defense was the only other thing that was a little bit interesting. They gave up 400 yards. I feel like their defense is great for fantasy and getting turnovers and touchdowns. But
Correct, yeah. They're
I don't
not as
know.
good at stopping.
yeah, at
Like actual-
NFL defensiving.
They get a lot of turnovers, so you're right. A lot of pick sixes.
Deron
with-
Bland, that's still nuts.
Yeah.
Okay, next up we had the Colts Titans, 31-28. This game, I'm kind of shocked, ended up being a good game.
I'm shocked it was that high scoring.
Yeah.
Like it was 60 points, 59 points.
Overtime game. Well, I guess because the Titans got a field goal to start, and then they
Tell you what, though, Gardner Minshew is always the answer. What a good backup to have.
I mean,
Gosh, if he was on if he was on FSU, they're 100% making that college football.
wait, you mean if an NFL quarterback? It is kind of hilarious. You know my thing about Trevor Lawrence, but if you look at Minshew's numbers with the Jags, then they got rid of him to get the number 1 pick. Trevor Lawrence, it was pretty much just been on par with what he was doing before. It's just, I'm just saying, look at numbers. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like pretty similar. And if you look at their numbers this year, even though Minshew didn't start the year because of Anthony Richardson, they're still like very similar.
Dude, Gardner Minshew, he was at Philly, he was at the Eagles for a bit. He is such like he's got to be top 3 backup.
Well, I mean, you remember the story that came out last year, I guess, about him breaking his hand because he wanted to be redshirted again to stay.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimate football guy right there.
Ultimate football guy.
Pittman with 11 receptions. He looked pretty good for the Colts. And then Derrick Henry left the game with a concussion, but then came back.
But he had a couple TDs.
Yeah, he took off. He had 2 touchdowns,
game.
102 yards. And then in the 4th was when he left, which was a bummer. But I think
game.
that he's questionable again for this week coming up.
Yep. He's always questionable, though.
Okay, ultimate game.
The Patriots and the Chargers.
I had the Chargers
What?
plus or -6 on this game. And the only points that were scored were just enough to make that a push.
Dude.
6-0.
I don't like. What? Like, did this game shock you as much as it shocked me?
What? I mean, not that the Patriots scored nothing, because the Chargers
No.
have talent on defense, which is why I posted a thing about Brandon Staley and how he refuses to get everyone. Because I'm like, they have studs. They should be shutting people down. But the Chargers only getting 3 field goals, that's what surprised me.
2 field goals.
Or, yeah, sorry, 2 field goals.
Dude, the
Field goals are
Chargers
3 points.
not scoring a touchdown.
Yeah. I mean,
6-0.
Justin Herbert had 212 yards, which I feel like is a decent amount to only score 6 points. You know what I mean?
I just like, and then, I mean, they still had Eckler and Allen. Like, they had all the
But
pieces.
dude,
like,
Eckler was 14 carries for 18 yards.
I know, they just shut him down. They shut the run down.
That was wild to me.
I have no idea what to think about this game.
I do. They both suck. I'm tired of watching both of these teams play, which sucks because I like the Chargers, but
I don't get the Chargers.
Yeah, I don't either.
I don't get them. Like, what? Like, obviously their defense could be better. Yeah, but dude, they have so much firepower, I feel like.
Yeah.
And I don't follow the Chargers close enough to tell you, like, their line sucks or like.
And then obviously Williams is out, but Keenan Allen's been going off all year, stepping up there.
Yeah, but
Austin, I don't know, to your point.
But we talk about Herbert being like this potential top 5, definitely top 8 QB, right? And like what?
No, I mean.
What's their record right now?
They are 6-7. No, yes.
So they have a chance to playoffs.
Are they 5-7?
Yeah. So.
And they're playing the Broncos this week in
That's
LA.
also such a weird team.
But the thing is, if you write them out this week, their defense is gonna suck next week, and they're gonna put up like 30 points. That's just the way that they've been.
And Herbert's
like
actually
the Lions game.
I'm gonna hit the over on that next game. I might change one of my picks because I think you're exactly right. I think Herbert is gonna throw for 4 TDs.
That's why they're just incredibly frustrating to watch. All right.
No
another
consistency.
game. We both had the Lions covering, which was 4.5.
And they both did.
Covered by half point because they beat the Saints 33-28. They tried to blow it again.
Dude, what I've realized about the Lions, and this is what I think is going to happen, they're going to make the playoffs, right? And they're going to make the playoffs, and no matter what seed they are, whether they win the division, go in as a wild card, doesn't matter if they're at home or away, they're going to lose that first game. I don't care who they're playing. I have almost all the confidence in the world.
I don't know if I disagree. I mean, they were up 21-0 in the first quarter.
Yeah. And then somehow only scored 12 points the rest of the 3 and then let up 28.
3 in the second, 3 in the third, 6 points in the fourth.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm nervous about this team.
Yeah, I think they're going to make the playoffs, and then they're with the Cowboys, right? They're going to make the playoffs. They're going to have a good regular season, and they're done.
I would almost even say they feel like the Cowboys with Tony Romo. They just really start falling apart in November, December.
Well, because it's Jared Goff. It's not all Jared Goff.
I mean, this game, though, he was 15 of... No, I can't read that number. It's too small, but had 213 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Gibbs had 60 yards. Laporta, we do need to talk about him for a quick second because he had 9 receptions for 140 yards and a touchdown.
So glad I traded him.
Love that, don't you? What'd you get, Miles Sanders or
well,
something
I'm also
for that?
out of freaking fantasy.
Yeah, you want to give me all your players now?
I don't know, like
they didn't have any turn. The Saints turned the ball over twice. The Lions didn't turn it over.
He's having a good season. Actually last year he had a better season, but he's got 20 TDs and 8 picks. Jared Goff.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a pretty solid season, right? His passer rating is 98, and he's got 3,300 yards. Like it's a solid. I just don't You're right. They try to blow every game.
I also think defense is a big concern. Yeah, if I were a Lions fan,
I agree.
They gave up 362 yards to the Saints. That's you don't want to do that.
No, you really don't.
You really don't.
No. Because the Saints, I mean, they've looked so bad.
I know, dude.
Offensively, at least. Defensively, they have a solid defense, but offensively, they have looked. Woo!
Yeah, because the game they blew out the Patriots, it was still all defense.
It was all defense. So, anyway, Derek Carr.
I don't really want to talk about this game anymore.
I don't want to talk about another NFC South team.
Too bad we've got one more at least. Actually, exactly one more.
Yeah.
Anyway, another exciting game that featured an NFC South team.
Dude.
Jets and Falcons.
13-8. Is there anything to say about this?
Yes. Atlanta won with 194 yards of total offense. That's all I need to say about this. They did finally use Kyle Pitts a little bit.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
A few receptions.
51 yards. I mean, still, again.
Did you see that report that Zach Wilson doesn't even want to start? Did you see that? I read an article on ESPN yesterday that goes, I think the Jets want Zach Wilson back in the starting role soon, and Zach Wilson pretty much told them, no.
Honestly, I kind of respect that.
Yeah, if that's true,
he's I'm taking a mental health day season.
I respect that. And Rodgers, of course, there's no reason for him to come back. Jets are done.
Yeah.
So hopefully gear up for next season when they have 3 of their best players get hurt on defense, and now they can't.
I know, dude. Because after the
Jets.
defense has to, because last year the defense looked incredible too. This year they're tired. I mean, still less than 200 yards of total offense. You would think in the NFL, if you do that, you should win a game.
Right. But you don't. You only score 8 points.
Also, 3 turnovers hurt. So there's that. Arizona. Steelers another one. They suck.
I don't know. You say that, but they're weird. And then they'll beat like the Ravens. You know, it's like the Steelers.
Well, yeah. I mean, that one's a weird one because it's just the division game. But they're still 7-5 now.
Dude, I don't think they're gonna make the playoffs. Right? Like, I don't. Now, I will say, let me preface this. I think the Cardinals are definitely a better team with Kyler Murray.
Yeah, no,
right?
1,000%.
They are a better team with Kyler Murray. Yeah, they had a big one against the Cowboys earlier this year. But I agree. I mean, I think this kind of eliminates the Pittsburgh. It doesn't eliminate, but it dampens their playoff hopes.
I put them in at 9 in my power rankings last week.
You got to take them out. No.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But remember, I was like, they're 7-4. Yeah, I'm like, I don't like them. Nothing really looks good about them, but they're 7-4 at the end of the day. So again, it's a league built for 500 and they have a winning record. So I guess they don't suck that much, but I don't enjoy watching them. They did have 317 yards of offense, which is better than I think they've been doing. I'd be curious to see what they're averaging. James Conner went off. That's the other piece.
Yeah, gosh.
25 carries, 105 yards, 2 touchdowns.
I was talking to Dad about this the other day. On both sides, of the line, if you can run the football and have a good O-line, you will be very hard to stop in the NFL.
Oh, yeah.
And like vice versa, if you can stop the run and like you make them pass all the time, you're going to be a very good defense most of the time. Like me and Dad were talking, why are O-line, D-line, why are they not always in the top 10? Like why is the top 10 of the NFL draft not offensive line, defensive line, O-line, D? Like, why are we worried about these skill players?
You're not wrong. I think it's probably because, okay, one, if you do get a good quarterback, it does make a difference. But also, there's the money involved. And I think people get really excited about watching a quarterback. They don't really get excited about
the left tackle.
Right. But to your point, offensive and defensive line is probably the single best indicator of a championship team.
Yeah, like 49ers strengthen their line, right?
Yeah.
They strengthen on both sides. So here's a big thing that people are not taking into consideration after the bye. They lost Trent Williams.
Yeah.
Right? Like they lost their all-star pro,
Yeah, you lose Debo and Trent Williams for those games, which is why I keep excusing it as just like a little slide. It's like you lose those 2 players on any team, take Jason Kelsey and A.J. Brown out.
That's what I'm saying.
For a few games. Of course. And then they still almost beat the Browns, missed a field goal in the end, and then played okay afterwards. But the thing with Trent Williams is he's so good. Think about if you have a tackle that you just don't worry about, that completely opens up entire schemes that you can do.
That's what I'm saying. Why is the offensive line and why? I don't know. Like even the Eagles, I think, really solidified their line with Jalen Carter.
Yeah.
Like Jalen Carter. And now Eagles secondary is literally trash.
But Eagles line looked good. Like Nick Bosa was handled for the most part.
Yeah.
By their O-line.
Their lines that's what I'm saying. That's why they're a great football team. They have a good offensive line. They have a really good defensive line. And like they have enough pieces around to, so.
I mean, I think to some degree, I was talking to my brother about this. So this is a little bit half baked, but I don't know if you can necessarily just win a championship with a good line. But I think that you cannot win one without one.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Where
I think as long as you have someone decent in there, I think
it makes a decent player an elite player.
Agreed. You'll be a playoff team. If you have a great line on both sides, you're a playoff team. As long as you have someone as long as you have decent players around.
Especially offensive line.
I agree with you. You might not win Super Bowl, but you will make the playoffs.
And again, like the flip side, I think that if you just have a terrible line, it doesn't matter really if you have. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is the exception.
Joe Burrow, that a couple of years. I mean, for a couple of years, he was getting hit.
Right, but they didn't win it all.
No, they did.
But they got close. But you know what I mean.
They made the Super Bowl and then they made a AFC Championship.
But if you had made, And that was like, you have Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, like that is Joe Mixon. Like you have elite all around. If you have a decent line even that year, they win.
I think so too. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So enough about that one. Next game, Miami, Washington. Tyreek Hill, dude. 2 touchdown catches of over 60 yards.
Animal.
His final stat line was 5 receptions for 157 yards and 2 touchdowns. And almost all of that was in the first half.
Dude, this game, I watched like a little bit of the first half and I was like, yep, that'll be it. I mean, first of all, the Commanders, oh gosh. I mean, they are just getting worse. Like, they started strong. What were they like? They might have been like 4-2.
I think they were closer to 500, but they had the big game against the Eagles. Remember when they
almost won,
and everyone started getting a little bit higher on them because of that game, and then everything after that has just been bad.
But they also have like no real pieces. Like, I mean, think their best receiver is Curtis Samuel. Like, it's like the Panthers.
I mean,
like
I guess it's probably still McLaurin, but
yeah, but like he had no points actually last week. He didn't have a catch against the Dolphins. Same thing with like Panthers. Like your best like wide receiver is Adam Thielen.
Right.
It's like
it is kind of fun seeing Jonathan Mingo do a little bit better.
Yeah.
But no, I am completely agree. That's not a discredit.
I think Adam Thielen's a great wide receiver. I just think he's a good like a good 3, maybe 2 in a certain but he's a very good like slot wide receiver. Like he's good for like 6 catches for 40 yards. Mm-hmm. Like one of those.
And you have a terrible line. What we were just saying, like that's the thing with the Panthers.
And terrible owner. Your GM's not that great. Your defense has a lot of injuries.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, Shaq Thompson is a tough one, JC Horn. But a good game, surprisingly, wasn't looking like it was going to be one. But the Texans end up winning 22-17. First off, obviously, Tank Dell going out with the broken fibula, which...
We hate that. I hate
that.
Injuries.
Sounds like it sucks.
Yeah, I hate injuries. Nico Collins, who got me 34 points in fantasy, and I still got eliminated this week. So
191 yards?
Dude.
That's decent.
Well, also, when Tank Dell went out, I mean, Nico was like the guy.
Oh, yeah. And then Zach Wilson threw 3 interceptions, which that was the big thing on their win streak.
Wilson?
Yeah, did I say Zach Wilson? Is that what I said? Oh my gosh. He probably threw some from the sideline.
Well, you're so used to saying that.
But Russell Wilson had been protecting the ball on their win streak. That was one of the big keys about it.
Dude, when you think,
I know.
Just when you think the Broncos, right? They beat the Chiefs. Just when you think like, hey, the Broncos are like an actual playoff contender. Like they lose. I mean, don't get me wrong, Houston's not a bad team, but like I had them to cover and they just missed. I think it was plus 3.5, so they just missed. But yeah. Dude, teams, I'm telling you what, down the stretch, it's just like glaringly obvious. Every year. Every year it's like some people start hot, some people start slow. Middle of the year, it's like some people keep it up, some people fade. And then end of the year, it's like if someone's on a big winning streak or losing streak or whatever it is, like if they course correct or maybe they don't course correct, it's like you really see towards the end of the year. Like Broncos are not.
Yeah, that's why I left them out because I wanted to put them in the top 10 last week. But I'm like, to me, part of it is I don't think they have a good line. If you looked, Russell Wilson was constantly under pressure.
Yeah.
It looked almost like people were getting to him.
It looked like J.J. Watt was there.
Right. Against me trying to block J.J. Watt.
Right.
And so, I mean, Javonte Williams had 48 yards, which was okay. But still, I didn't think they ran the ball that great. They didn't have time to throw it. Didn't really have throwing lanes. One of the picks, though, was so nice.
Yeah. I didn't see it.
One of Stingley's 2 interceptions on the game was really nice, but he just like broke on it perfect and like cut inside and had like a beautiful like receiver catch right in front of him.
As a fellow DB myself, I respect that.
Respect it. He just read it so well. And so I still think Russell Wilson's playing well this year, but I agree that I don't think they might be a fringe team. But like to your point, the Packers, which obviously we'll get into, they're about to play no one. They're going to build momentum. Jordan Love's looking really nice. Like they're a team that's starting to all of a sudden emerge. Like they're in the play. Like if it ended right now, they're in the playoffs.
I think they're going to make the playoffs, 100%.
Because they're not playing anyone really after this.
Yeah.
So next game.
That was a big win against the Chiefs.
Yeah. That was a big win. But they're playing Carolina.
I don't even want
to. Didn't even cover. That's the best thing about this game.
The best thing about this game is the Panthers still lose, but yet don't lose by 5. And so they...
You ready for this?
Right.
Here's my best attempt at the rundown of the game. Tell me how I do. Mike Evans played pretty good. 7 receptions, 162 yards, 1 touchdown. The Panthers are still bad. It was an ugly game, and Christian didn't cover.
Correct.
Did I nail it?
That's perfect.
Yeah, let's go.
I mean, that's perfect. Get him out of here.
Get him. Move next.
I don't want to do it. I don't want to.
Another game that looked like if I wasn't going to cover, I had the Rams covering. And Joe Flacco, he was kind of looking like the man. I didn't even realize. At first, yeah. For a while, I mean, I didn't even know he was going to play. He still ended up with 254
I thought this guy was like 45
yards, 2 touchdowns. He's pushing 40. Looked pretty good. Threw an interception at the end. The game started to turn into a blowout in the last like 6 minutes. And so the Rams ended up winning 36-19. But, I mean, still, I don't know. Browns might be a different team. Give them a few more weeks of practicing. Because that's the other things, you know?
I think Browns, dude, like, once again, this is a pivotal week in the NFL. I think the Browns.
You mean pivotable?
Yeah, I actually said it right.
Now I'm going to mess it up for you.
Pivotable. I mean, the Browns, like, they're done. I mean, I'm sorry, but, like, especially, I mean, if they had Deshaun Watson, as much as I hate to say it, like, I do think that with Deshaun Watson, they're, like, an actual playoff contender this year. But, like, especially without him, like, and Joe Flacco, I don't know. They're done. I mean,
yeah, I mean, it's
I'm tossing down.
Because they held on with PJ Walker. DTR was a disaster. Deshaun Watson.
He won a game, though. He's won as many games as Bryce Young has.
That is true. Deshaun Watson looked really good a few games, and then the other few were, I mean, it's hurt a lot. So I don't really know what to make of him. Again, sucks for Cleveland. Puka left this game with the AC sprain, came back, ended up 4 receptions, 105 yards, a touchdown.
Yeah.
Pretty solid. That's about all that I really have to say on it. Anything else? Or should we just jump into the game of the week?
Dude, game of the week. I mean,
the floor is yours.
Yeah. I mean, great game by the 49ers. It's just right now, especially with getting Chase Young and having their line solidified on both sides with Trent Williams back. I mean, they're an unbelievable football team right now. Also, the one note I will say, being a Eagles fan, is the 49ers were out for blood. It was a chippy game, right? They're still pissed off about the NFC Championship last year when they felt like if Brock Purdy, didn't go down, it would be a different story. And it might have been. Who knows?
Okay, yeah.
So I feel like that's why I took the 49ers -3. Yes, it was a little bit of an emotional hedge, but I really did believe the 49ers were going to win this game because I am just a big believer in the game of sports. Like, if you have a grudge against someone for whatever reason and, like, you felt like you should have won, you're just going to absolutely lose your mind with next time you play them. So Purdy played very well, actually played unbelievable. They look like, if Purdy plays like that, I mean, they look like a complete team offensively and defensively. I kind of saw this coming with the Eagles winning 4 straight from come from behind games, and then the emotional fatigue of that, and then the 49ers losing the NFC Conference Championship and still having a lot of reservations about that. So all in all, I mean, great game by the 49ers. Hats off to them. And I think the Eagles are going to bounce back really nicely against the Cowboys.
Yeah, I was wondering because you said there was something you were going to say about that earlier.
I think they're going to. So the Cowboys are favored -3.
Yeah,
I think there's no chance the Cowboys win that football game.
I almost think the Cowboys will win.
Yeah,
we'll see. But
once again, I mean, at least I think it'll be a very close game because I am also a firm believer that if you're a good team, you don't get blown out twice. Like, it just doesn't happen.
I was originally thinking that it was going to be Eagles -2.5, 3, in which case I was debating taking the Cowboys for the pick. When I saw that it was -3, I'm like, I'm going to stay away. I think they might win, but I don't feel great about it.
Yeah.
What I will say about this game, Eagles defense looked great. I mean, at first.
Two
3 and outs.
The first
for the 49ers.
quarter looked unbelievable.
It was so frustrating the first quarter because the Niners kept putting them in 3rd and long, and then A.J. Brown kept getting a catch every single time. But then holding to the 2 field goals were big. But then after those 2 first drives, the 2 3 and outs, the Niners scored a touchdown on every single drive until they took a knee at the end.
Yep.
And that was
6 straight drives with a touchdown.
They kind of big dogged them.
Also, what I will say,
and good drives too.
No, really good drives. And what I will say, especially when, as some of the top teams in the NFL, when you drive down and you can't score like a touchdown, that makes such a big difference because then you lose momentum as an offense and you gain momentum as a defense. Like, especially if you're driving and you're on the 8 and then you hold them, goal line stand, like, I think that is undervalued so much. Like, if the Eagles score both times, might have been a different game. But, like, they don't. They kick field goals, and all of a sudden, if the 49ers score a touchdown, they're winning.
And I think that's the big piece, too. Not just the field goals, but when the other team goes down and then they score it, it's because all of a sudden they're winning, and they just did it on one shot, and they did what you couldn't. That's a big kick.
It is.
But, I mean, because maybe after the first 2 drives, the Eagles had like 150-ish yards, and the Niners were in negative.
Mm-hmm.
It was looking bad.
Well, the first quarter, I think the Niners had 6 yards.
Well, Brock Purdy was 0 for 4 on his first 4 passes, then ended up 19 of 27, 314, which I will say a lot of those, we got to talk about Deebo in a second, were yards after catch, but 4 touchdowns, 148.8 rating, really good. CMC with 92 rushing yards a touchdown.
Those are the games as a QB you love because, he threw for 314 and 4 TDs, but, like, once again, I watched the whole game, and I tell you what, well, actually, I turned it off in the fourth quarter because I got pissed off. But the first 3 quarters I watched because, and what I will say is when you miss a tackle in the NFL, how crucial that really is a lot of times. Like Deebo's touchdown, right? Yeah. Those 50 yards, and it was a 4-yard catch. All the guys do is it's tackle him.
Yes, it's easier said than done with Deebo Samuel.
No, don't get me wrong.
I'm just saying, like with Deebo Samuel, like that is. Someone was in our TikTok saying that Deebo's trash. I'm like, Deebo's great wide receiver, but don't get me wrong. But like, also he had no momentum. It's not like he was like full steam ahead. He should have. I'm just saying, like, he is a stud at breaking tackles.
You're right. Like, I don't know how many official yards after catch it was, but I guarantee it was every bit of 100. Like, total.
Deebo had 7 touches on the game. Well, so first, he was one of the leaders talking smack. He's boys with A.J. Brown, and so they were like having fun, go back and forth. But he was one of the leaders saying at the end of last year that it sucked because they didn't have Brock Purdy. They didn't have a quarterback because the second one went down with concussion. And he backed it up. He had 4 receptions for 116 yards. I don't remember how many rushing yards he had, but he had 3 touches. He had 3 touchdowns on 7 touches. I mean, that guy was out for blood. And then A.J. Brown, I mean, again, like I said, he kept getting first downs at the beginning of the game.
But the fact that Deebo only had 4 receptions for 120 yards, like, that's ridiculous.
I know.
That's like Tyreek Hill. You don't really see that unless it's Tyreek Hill.
And the difference of him being short catches and breaking tackles and going. And again, the strength of him is he's like a running back when he gets the ball in his hands.
But there were I think 3 different instances. One of them was the Deebo touchdown. I'm trying to remember the other 2, where like the Eagles missed the first tackle and then it was 20 yards. Yeah. Like, you just can't. Like, don't get me wrong. If you're in the open field, that's a tough tackle. But like, if someone throws it across and you just catch the football and then you miss the tackle, like, dude, come on. Like, it's not like he's doing anything crazy. Just tackle the guy. But that's the thing that, like, about the Eagles makes me so nervous. It's like, offensively, they haven't been clicking as much. Second half they have, but first half especially have not been clicking that much offensively. But really, both of their lines are very good.
Secondary's terrible.
Correct. Offensive and defensive line are both very good. But they just got that Leonard, the linebacker, that chose us over the Cowboys, which is a big pickup.
From the Colts.
But anyway, secondary, dude. What the heck? Like, we can't, like, it's not like we can't really cover anyone.
Yeah.
But we can't tackle anyone. And then on top of that, like, the 49ers were so open. At that point, it's not a secondary issue. It's a coaching issue. If they're that open, like, you're either being outcoached or your scheme's wrong. Like, Because the NFL, like, if your coverage is not great, you're going to have a couple yards of separation, but someone shouldn't be wide open across the middle.
To Depot's point, that was the other thing. He called the secondary trash before this game. And rarely, when someone talks that kind of smack, do they back it up with touching the ball or 4 receptions for 120 yards and 3 touchdowns.
But I also think, like, the secondaries can get a lot of flack, and rightfully so, but I think a lot of that falls on the coaching.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. Let's see how, because it's in Arlington. So, I mean, it's a big game because if they lose, 49ers are on top of the NFC.
Yeah, you're right. If they lose. And I don't care as much about that. What I really care about is being in the top 2, right? And winning your division.
Yeah.
Because then you still...
Well, I mean, you can find yourself on the wild card very easily.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. If they lose this game to the Cowboys, I mean, the Cowboys have a legitimate chance at winning the division. Mm-hmm. Now, if they beat the Cowboys, no.
Yeah.
Right? Then the Cowboys have 4 losses, I believe. Eagles still have 1. Or Eagles, have 2. So, like, Eagles would have to royally screw it up in order to not win the division. Because then they beat the Cowboys twice. So, But if that's why it's such a big game. I don't know. I just think the Cowboys are going to choke, but we'll see.
Yeah, we don't think that. Last thing about the game, we got to talk about Dom versus Dre Greenlaw, the ejection.
We had different opinions on this.
Yeah, because you go first.
Well, once again, I didn't hear what they said.
Uh-huh.
And like, I guess, I mean, I did mouth some words. I think the security guard said that's some BS or something. Mm-hmm. But anyway, like, I don't care if he was trying to point or like what, you just can't touch a coach in the face. Like, you're ejected.
No, so I have the complete opposite. One is security. He pushed Dre Greenlaw first. I think in my mind, I'm like, a coach or anyone on the sideline should never touch a player. So you know what I mean? Like, you're saying, I think I had like the opposite opinion where it's like, your job is to protect the players from the fans. You can't get into another team's face and you can't push them.
Right.
And so, one, he wasn't punching him. If it was an incredibly sad attempt at a punch.
Yeah.
Because it's like a left hand pushing through, pointing to him. I think that he should have never been, like, the hit was dirty. The hit should have been a personal foul, all that, yes. But he should not have been ejected for Dom coming up, which also I think is kind of a baller move from the Eagles side. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not mad at him. I'm like, that's kind of awesome.
I think that's like, and don't get me wrong, the Eagles were freaking out, like on like the Eagles fan side about like the fact that Dre touched a guard, security coach, whatever you want to put a name on him.
A non-player on the sideline.
A non-player in the face.
And
like,
CP.
they're freaking out. But like, I mean, I think it was like very fair. Like, both people should have been ejected. Like, it's like, you can't, like, I don't care what Dre's trying to do. Like, if you're a security guard almost makes it worse than a coach. But like, you can't, like, even if you're pointing, like, it didn't look like he was pointing, but
he had his finger out.
He had all of his, like, it was like 3 of his fingers out. So like, maybe he was pointing like this, I guess. But
I mean, you're not punching like that.
No, I don't think it was like. A couple people said like he would like try to left hook him. Like, no, I don't think he tried to left hook him. but I don't think he, like, I think he was almost trying to like kind of like slap, like, not, hard, but like maybe just be like.
But I mean, to the point, it's just like.
But you can't do that.
But it's more unacceptable for me for them to touch an opposing team's player. Like, imagine if someone jumped from the crowd and ran across to a player and like went to punch or like mess with the player and then on the field or like on the sideline and the player like body slams him. That is absolutely nothing wrong with the player. Because like that person was completely in the wrong coming down there. The fan was.
Yeah, that's so different though.
No, but it's not, because they're not allowed to get in the player's face and mess with the security one, just like a fan would. It's a little bit different because they're on the sideline, but still it's like that, to me, doesn't warrant an ejection for Drake Greenlaw's might be. You know what I mean?
So I think I don't disagree that it does not warrant an ejection for Dom. But like it's not a push it's not like he pushed the guy back, which he did, by the way. He also pushed him back. He also hit him in the face. Like, you just can't do that. I don't care if he was like, if he was trying to point or if he was trying to like lightly hit him. I don't know. Like, you couldn't tell from the clips what exactly his motive was, but like, you also just can't like,
but it's just so bizarre to me that a coach or a security guard is allowed to mess with the player, because they're not allowed to. So
but
you know
I don't
what I mean?
know if they were messing. I think they're just trying to like break it up. Like, from the video, like, he pushed him away, but it wasn't like he like, like trying to crush them. He was just like essentially trying to push the 49ers players away.
But he just has no business doing that.
Agreed. Yeah.
Which, again, if I'm an Eagles fan, I'm like, that's awesome. What a stud.
Yeah.
But from an
standing ovation.
I'm like, as a 49ers fan, but then also objective, it's like, you're just not allowed to do that.
Yeah. So I think it was the right call. I think both people should have been ejected.
Anyway, agree to disagree on that. Silly little Dom. He's just like
he's a good
cult
guy.
Following now.
I know.
Philadelphia.
He does.
It's kind of awesome.
Philadelphia's crazy.
Quickly, we'll hit the last two games because I got fired up there. Green Bay, Jordan Love looks very good. Everything he was throwing up somehow landed up in like Romeo Dobbs' arm or something like that.
He does look very good.
The Chiefs do not look like the Chiefs.
So,
for the most part, Pacheco, or you're about to say something, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't look like as dynamic, quote unquote, as like their normal offense. I don't think their offense was bad. Obviously, Pacheco had over 100 yards rushing. Mahomes had over 200 yards passing. So, like, yes, they weren't as dynamic as like a Chiefs offense, but the once again, it comes back like the Chiefs have issues with the defense, and so do the Eagles. Like that's the thing that is like nerve-wracking for these good teams.
The Chiefs defense were carrying them for a while.
Kind of, but also like 27 points to Green Bay. And Green Bay has been playing very well. Jordan Love the last few weeks has looked very good. But like to lose by 8 points, I mean, they also, you're right, the offense couldn't finish a lot of times, right? Like, because they had, how many field goals did the Chiefs have?
There are also like no punts in this game until the end.
The Chiefs had 4 field goals, right?
2 touchdowns.
So 2 field goals because they probably went for 2. I don't know, man. I just don't know what to think about the Chiefs. Like, they've shown flashes of brilliance like they normally do, right? And then other times they only put up 19 points against the Packers. And then I think what I'm trying to say is their defense is not good enough for them to only score 19 points.
Yeah, they're not the Jets defense.
Correct. Like, it's not a top 5 D.
They're just
like the 49ers. Like, I feel like Brock could put up 21 points and the 49ers could win most of their games.
I mean, so what I will say about this one is it just felt like everything Jordan Love threw up landed in a receiver.
Yeah.
Like, even some of them were good coverage and just falling in. But the thing to me where I'm saying the Chiefs don't look like the Chiefs is there's just something that instinctively over watching the last, Patrick Mahomes do his thing, there's just part of you that's like, yeah, they're just going to always win. And I don't feel that with them anymore.
I don't either, but also
it's still in the back of my mind.
The Chiefs. And like, dude, I feel like also at the same time, Mahomes has more playoff experience in the last few years, obviously, than any other QB.
He's the young GOAT. So again, there's just always it makes the Chiefs really tricky.
Unless you put Flacco in there. Flacco might have more experience.
But again, the Chiefs, it's just the eye test isn't doing it for me. But then again, they're the Chiefs. Last thing I'll say,
they could just very easily win the next 3 games, and then all of a sudden they're like,
right, take back over the AFC.
Yep.
Anyway, the last drive was probably the worst officiating I think I've ever seen. Both ways. It wasn't even like bias. It was so first off, Patrick Mahomes running down the sideline, unnecessary roughness on a completely legal hit, garbage 15 yards. Then
he gets those calls though. Patrick Mahomes gets those calls.
It was a bad call, but I'm like, yes, it's their insurance policy. Then they're going down by the sideline, clearly no forward momentum, and they say that because you have to get forward momentum to get out of bounds. So they say that he gets out of bounds and they stop the clock, which was garbage. But then the pass interference, which would put the ball on the 6-yard line that wasn't called, where straight up jumps on his back, and it's a no call.
I don't know what I think about this because I never played cornerback in the NFL. Shocker. But what the NFL has been doing, and I've heard announcers talk about this, and I've heard like people, I guess just commentators, people around the NFL talk about this. If it's an underthrown ball, they're less likely to call pass interference now. So if the ball is thrown great, like, if it's thrown normally, great. Like, that's a pass interference, I think. But I saw it like in the past, like It wasn't called, but also the ball was underthrown.
But it wasn't like the normal underthrow that it's happening. This one was thrown inside and shorter, so he was cutting in and then slows down and then he runs through him. It wasn't like he was coming back, because that's the one that they're calling. If it's underthrown and they're coming back to the ball, that's the one they're letting slide. And so he never, like, he was still moving forward. He just slows down.
I've actually seen they're letting some slide now that, like, say it's a go route, right? And then it's underthrown. Like, say they just underthrow by a few yards and the wide receiver stops or has to, like, slow down or stop. And then he gets hit by the cornerback.
If his head's back, though. That's the only difference.
No, that's true. That's true. But I have noticed, though, on those balls, they're calling a lot less.
It is interesting because, one, Packers fans, the only, like, defense I've seen that they have is that it was a makeup call for the hit on Pat. So I'm like,
it might have been, actually.
I'm like, that's rough if we're talking about actual makeup calls here. Both calls, the rules analyst, when it came on, was like, for the first one, the hit on Patrick Mahomes, he goes, yeah, that was absolutely not a penalty. It was a completely legal hit. And then on the pass interference, there you go. That was absolutely a pass interference. It should have been called.
Yeah.
I'm just like, that. It was just tough to watch the last stretch. And both ways. It wasn't like I'm saying they were trying to throw the game. It was just bad.
Well, I feel like officials have it tougher now than they ever have, right? Because, like, they probably get chastised if they, like, don't call an unnecessary roughness when it is on a QB. Like, it's just,
but then to the point, why are we not using more technology for these things? Like, I'm not saying that it's easy, but if it's this bad in these crucial moments, help yourself out. I don't think you make it a challenge, because I think that makes it really hard if you can challenge it. I think they just need to be able to look at it and do an official review. Like, even if they don't even stop and look at it, there's just someone in New York that's watching at all times and it's like, hey, you got to flip that one. Because, again, take the hit on Patrick Mahomes. That is a little bit tough to tell in the moment. Yeah. And it was a big hit, and you can't not protect Patrick Mahomes as much as I would love it if you don't. So why don't you just, like, take a little bit of help?
Agree. I agree. I'm with you. Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay, last game, though, the Monday night. Jake Browning, the most improved player over 7 games or 7 days. Unbelievable.
Unreal. He played like Joe Burrow MVP. Like,
so good.
So good.
And then Trevor Lawrence left the game with a high ankle sprain.
He also looked good.
Bengals ended up winning 34-31.
Lawrence looked good as well. No turnovers.
Yeah.
A couple TDs. Look good.
But, I mean, even when he was in it, the Bengals, it wasn't like his injury was what let the Bengals come back and win.
Right.
Jamar Chase, 11 receptions, 150 yards, a touchdown, 149 yards. But another overtime game.
That's ridiculous. That was a fun game, though.
It was a fun game.
Especially when you're going against Joe Mixon, who he can score 24 points and you still win, and he scores 30. That's fun. And he eliminates you from playoff contention.
I hate that
because he was projected for 14 and scores 30.
That does suck. Hopefully, I'm at 97% likelihood of playoffs right now, so hopefully I make it in for you.
I'm going to ban you from the league. I still have the power.
I already know it's going to be a one and done. I'm not even going to make it to the end. No way I get my money for it.
If you make the championship, I'm giving the other person their money. I don't care.
Unbelievable. All right, should we just hit power rankings real fast then?
I'll go first.
You go first.
I still got Bills at 10. They had a bye. They shouldn't be penalized for a bye. So I got Bills at 10. I got the Texans at 9. That was a big win for them. And I think that they're going to be a legit wild card team as long as they keep playing well. Jags at 8. I don't love that loss against the Bengals, but they have 8 wins. So I feel like they're still going to make the playoffs. Lions at 7. They're going to make the playoffs. I feel very confident in that, and then lose the first game. Dolphins 6. Still some questions around their legitimacy against top 5 teams. Kansas City at 5. I think they're going to turn the ship around at some point, somewhere. And then 4, I got the Dallas Cowboys, who make me nervous going against the Eagles this week. But I still think that they are a little bit behind the Eagles, and the Eagles will win the division, but the Cowboys will be number 1 in the wild card. Ravens, I got them at 3. They're still looking very solid. Eagles at 2. Yeah, they lost badly to the 49ers. But once again, one loss in the NFL does not determine your entire season. And I think the 49ers had it out for them since losing the NFC Championship game. And the number 1, you got to put the 49ers at 1. I mean, ever since losing those 3 games, looking like a JV team, going on the bye, and then looking like the best team in the NFL, I mean, unbelievable.
They didn't look like a JV team. They just lost 3 games.
They look like JV too.
Wow.
I mean, those were 3 bad. It's like they lost the Eagles, the Cowboys, and the Dolphins. Like 3 bad losses.
They lost the Bengals with Joe Burrow when you had them in the top 10.
Bengals are sexy.
They lost on a field goal that they should have hit to the Browns.
Yeah, they lost the Browns.
A borderline top 10 team.
Lost the Browns.
And then the Vikings. It's not that bad.
The Vikings.
And then, anyway.
What have the Vikings been doing?
Well, they were on a bye.
I know.
This is the most I think we've agreed. We're pretty close. Thankfully, you came around the 49ers because you have no choice not to.
Yeah.
But leaving the Bills at 10, again, they had a bye. Don't penalize them. 9 Texans, 8 Jags. I almost want to flip them, but I mean, Jags beat them last time. We'll see. Anyway, doesn't matter. 7 Lions. I'm going to put the Chiefs at 6. It's Patrick Mahomes. They could pop up really, really quickly. But if you look right now, you got to put the Cowboys and the Dolphins ahead. They have a better record, blah, 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 blah. They look better right now. Chiefs don't look that good. So it feels weird taking them out of the top 5, but it feels like what I'm supposed to, if that makes sense. I don't know.
It feels right.
It's right and wrong at the same time.
Yeah.
Fully both. Anyway, I'm going to go Cowboys at 5. This is a very, very, very big week, obviously, with the Eagles coming. They need a win and at home. So up to this point, they've just been a team that blows out bad teams and can't win against good teams. And that's going to continue if they don't win this week, I think.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this is, how last week you said if the 49ers beat the Eagles, you'll skyrocket them. I don't know if I'll skyrocket the Cowboys, but I'll take the asterisk off the Cowboys if they win.
Yeah, fair enough.
Then 4 Dolphins. I mean, they're the top of the AFC right now. They're looking good. Defense is looking good. I think that I had last week, I said the Cowboys looked hotter than the Dolphins. I think I'm flipping that again now. Obviously, I think that, this week, I think that the Dolphins looked better. They just absolutely obliterated the Commanders. And so, final score for the Cowboys Commanders was similar, but it was a lot closer game until the end when they had the pick 6 and so on. This time, Dolphins just
so blowout. Yeah.
Slapped them around. Also, they have a couple big games coming up. They really should get a big win here. But also, even if they make it to the whole regular season without beating a good team, they're going to be in a good position in the playoffs. And so it's it doesn't really matter if you have a good win in the regular season. It's not like the playoffs where you need, where Florida State needs to beat LSU. Yeah. Oh, wait, they did. Anyway, Ravens 3, Eagles 2. Again, I don't think you can fault them for getting blown out by the 49ers because the 49ers blew out them now, the Jags, the Cowboys. Every good team the Niners have played, they've blown out. So that doesn't, they're still the only 10 win team. So there's that.
Yeah. All right. I like that. Anyway. Should we do picks?
Yeah. Running through last week, like we mentioned, we had a push because I had the Chargers -6 and the final score.
Right.
Look at that. You got a fade right. That's a big one. But look, right here, you see -6.0. Little did you know that in the script, it says that it was supposed to be a 6-0 game. That's what that was.
Oh, got it.
But now we both have a little 1 at the end. Anyway, we both had the Lions winning. You got to fade right. The Chiefs. I should have stuck with my gut of doing the 49ers.
Because of how badly you lost that, you should lose 2. You had the Chiefs to cover -7. They lost by 8. I mean, you should lose 2 there.
No. I should have stuck with my gut. I said that I think the 49ers are going to win. I just didn't want to have all of the emotions stacked up. And if I had, that was when I was taking out blah, blah, blah. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. You got it right. You're 2-4 now on the fades. Then Miami obviously covered and then the Rams covered. So now I'm 39-25-1, 4 for 4 on the fades.
Dude, you're on fire.
The last 3 weeks, it's now 13-1-1. Not bad. Not bad. And then you didn't get the Panthers covering, or I guess the Panthers did cover. We both had the Lions. Didn't get Denver, even though it was really close to it.
Yeah, 2 close ones.
Got the Seahawks, and then got the 49ers.
I won 3 out of 5, but I mean, I was so close to winning 5. I was 2 points away in both games from winning 5. That's tough.
I hate it for you. And so now you're 30-34-1. But now,
Not
2
bad.
for 4 on the fades.
Not bad.
Getting close to 500. All right, let's see. What do you have this week? You want to go first?
I would love to go first.
Mm-hmm.
I got Bills +3 against the Chiefs. I think this is a must win game for the Bills. And the Chiefs have not been looking great. So I think it's going to be a high-scoring game with the Bills eking out. And then I got Eagles +3 Cowboys. They're not going to get blown out 2 weeks in a row. And I'm very confident in saying that right here, right now, they will not get blown out 2 weeks in a row. They're going to cover that +3 against Cowboys. In fact, take a money line, baby. Packers -6.5 versus Giants. There's no reason the Packers should not win by a touchdown here. I mean, no reason. Lions -3.5 against the Bears. Once again, there's no reasons Lions shouldn't cover by more than a field goal against the Bears here. Lions are a good football team. Bears are not a good football team. It should 100% be a 10-point victory by the Lions. So I like the Lions -3.5 here. And then to wrap it up, I got the Broncos Chargers over at 43.5. Chargers got arguably shut down. I don't think Herbert gets shut down 2 weeks in a row. And yeah, I think the Broncos are legit. And I mean, Russell Wilson is legit at this day and time in this moment. So I like the over at 43.5 there.
Okay. Let's see. I've got Dolphins covering against Titans. It's 13.5. I think with Derrick Henry's, because he went out with a concussion, came back. I don't know if he'll be at full practice. Dolphins defense is looking good. As we know, they like to beat inferior opponents, which the Titans are. And then the Titans just coming off the crushing overtime loss. I think overtime's really tough on your body too. And so I think the Dolphins are going to win by more than 2 touchdowns. I've got the Packers covering -6.5 against the Giants.
Okay.
Because Jordan Love looks good and the Giants are the Giants. I also have the Bills covering against the Chiefs.
Oh, wow.
I think they're going to win. And if not, I mean, a field goal. I think it'll be close at least. They're coming off a bye also. Here's where I think I'm going to do the classic Christian. Saints covering -5.5 against the Panthers. I think, there's Panthers. That's all I need to say about that one. Okay, here's where I'm torn. I'm between doing the Lions covering against the Bears, like I said, -3. I think the Bears are actually a little bit better team than they've been, but still, I think the Lions are going to cover. Or the other one that I kind of want to do, this is an egregiously
Don't do another
low.
one for me, dude. Or like me. Do a different one.
You don't want to win it? You're trying to catch up. The other one that I want to do, it's an egregiously low over-under, but the Patriots Steelers under 30.5. Get this. In the Patriots' last 3 games, there's only been 39 total points in the last 3 games combined.
Wow. Well, it's because they got 0.
No, both teams. The combined score of the last 3 Patriots games total 39.
Okay.
Yes, also them getting 0 helps that though. Yeah, since you're already doing the other one, I'll do the Patriots under 30.5. Patriots Steelers under 30.5.
Yeah.
Wild. That feels so low, but I mean, 6 was the last one.
That could easily be like a 12-10 game.
Yeah.
4 field goals, like easy.
All right. Well, best college quarterbacks. Should we do it?
Yeah,
draft.
Let's do it. I go first. So in this freaking draft, best college QBs, I mean, you got to represent, right? You got to represent the people you respect.
Joe Burrow.
And admire. The number 1 overall pick for me, Baker Mayfield. I mean, to go from a walk-on at Texas Tech to then being nominated for the Heisman to then winning the Heisman, obviously setting some NCAA records like passer rating while doing it. I mean, what an inspirational story. And this guy doesn't have anything. I mean, nothing. He comes from no, but really, he doesn't have like the tools, right? He doesn't have the 6'5" Cam Newton or the physicality of Tim Tebow. He is just a normal dude that's 6 foot 200 that can just sling a football.
Okay. Wild take for me, but I'm going Cam Newton. You said it. He comes to Auburn and single-handedly wins a national.
Dude.
Yeah, that one season, he single-handedly wins a national championship. Talk about a player that went down, wouldn't make the playoffs. The 2010 Cam Newton.
I guess, man. One season, though. One season. Which, you know what? That's a perfect segue. I'm surprised you put him over the guy that he was behind.
I was like, should I do Tim
the
Tebow
guy
or
that
him?
He was behind?
No, yeah.
Tim Tebow, man. Transformed formed college football. He was the only person or the first person ever to have 50 combined touchdowns, rushing and passing.
He was also the youngest player to win the Heisman at the time.
Yeah. So not only the Heisman, but the fact that my guy had essentially like Tim Tebow. I mean, obviously there's some other factors, but like he was a huge part of the transition to the running QB.
Yeah. I did want him, though. I thought I might be able to
and the physicality.
To grab him.
The slam, bam, jam, baby.
Okay, I'm going to take the exact opposite approach that you took. And I'm going to do someone who was just gifted with unhealthy amounts of athletic ability and chose to not care but have fun. And that's Johnny Manziel.
Ooh.
Money Manziel.
That's all I gotta say. Man.
Money
Manziel.
Manziel.
A documentary about him.
Yeah.
Dude, that one game against Alabama.
Yeah.
When Texas A&M beat Alabama and he had like, 2,000 yards or something?
At least in that game, right?
3 for me. I mean, you're giving me all of my favorites. My top 3 favorite college QBs are probably Baker Mayfield, Tim Tebow, and Joe Burrow.
I don't know. I don't know why I didn't do Joe. I just like running quarterbacks more.
Joe Burrow, first of all, another transfer from the Ohio State Buckeyes, wasn't getting much playing time.
Mm-hmm.
And then he has 2 unbelievable, he probably had, arguably, this is an argument, the best season of a QB in college ever. Like the fact that he won the Heisman.
Bro,
won the national championship.
Minus, yeah, I understand what you're saying, but his numbers this year are looking similar.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, no, it was a good season.
He's a beast. Don't get me wrong. He's a beast. But it was
But it's just one season.
No, it was 2 for Joe. Joe had 2 great seasons.
I'm going to go.
Don't give me Cam had 1
as
season.
someone who has gotten excited about Texas lately, I got to go Vince Young. I just remember when they were playing Southern Cal in that national championship. He just, I don't know. I like him. He was different.
I'm going to go with someone who arguably changed this college football team forever. The Clemson Tigers. Deshaun Watson.
Herb Boy Watson.
Dude, he put Clemson on the map. I mean, Clemson, were they ever good before Deshaun Watson?
Not since the 80s.
Right? Like, that's what I'm saying. In 2 decades, 3 decades, I mean, sure, they weren't a bad football team, but they were not, top caliber, top 10, year in, year out. Deshaun Watson comes and absolutely played his I'm not going to say what I want to say, but he played well, right?
That's true.
And then obviously, I think by him vaulting Clemson up, then they could get Trevor Lawrence and then get better recruits and, whole 9 yards, because Trevor Lawrence is also unbelievable.
Deshaun Watson was a lot better than Tyler Boyd. I will say that. This is barely making an N in the 25-year mark, but Michael Vick.
Ooh.
I feel like he, in a lot of ways, changed the quarterback position.
Yeah, he did. He was also kind of the face before Tim Tebow of the running QB.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that. All right.
Even though I hate Tech.
Yeah, me too. Number 5 for me, Kyler Murray. You got to go another Oklahoma QB. I mean, the fact that they had Heismans in was it back-to-back years? Or was it within 3 years? They had Baker win, and they had Kyler win. Unbelievable.
Well, not to mention you had like Sam Bradford. Like they've had quarterbacks.
Yeah, and like Jalen Hurts started at Oklahoma.
Ended
at Oklahoma. I mean, Kyler Murray also kind of redefines that position.
Oh. What the heck? I'm going to do it. Lamar Jackson.
Ooh, I watched him play.
Nasty. Anyway, that was a fun episode.
As always, like,
subscribe,
and make sure to comment on Joe's ever increasing enthusiasm.
Yeah, love that.
Peace.
Honorable mention to Marcus Mariota.